My people, welcome to another fascinating session. This video is going to blow your mind, so grab a cup of coffee, buckle your seatbelt, and let's get to work. In this session, we are going to lay the Ambazonia case to rest. We are also going to look at the discrepancies between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon, why we have confusion and instability in this geographical location. Most importantly, the root cause of the problem. With that being said, let's dive straight into this video. Trust me, you're going to love it. Do me a favor, click the subscribe button. That is your vote of confidence. That is saying, I don't just want to stay on the sidelines. I want to be actively involved in bringing about change. Let's dive straight into the video.
It echoes the very political behavior of the Ambazonian struggle that the Ambazonian struggle has stood against for decades. The self-anointing rituals of the CPDM in Yaoundé. In Yaoundé, Paul Biya has mastered the art of manufacturing legitimacy through rubber-stamped committees, hand-picked assemblies, and the orchestrated endorsements that masquerade as democratic mandates. And here we are in Ambazonia in 2025, watching Samuel Ekane mimic the same playbook with remarkable precision. A conference held behind closed doors, a constituent assembly whose members are never named, an overwhelming majority that voted without voting.
My people, infighting within the Ambazonian camp is nothing new to us. We've seen scripts like this before. We've heard stories like this before. We've also heard that if all the leaders come together, we will make progress. If all the leaders come together, we can all unanimously file a petition to the right organizations that will hear our cry. But what if I told you that is not the real problem? The real problem is lack of clarity. The real problem is the lack of vision. The real problem is not understanding the depth of this case. And let's lay that to rest today. We will have Atanga Paul in this conversation. We are going to have Maurice Kamto, Professor Maurice Kamto, in this conversation. Barrister Harmony Bobga in this conversation, and Isa Juruma Bakari. So we are going to touch on every angle on the current events in Cameroon today and Southern Cameroons, and give you a collective blueprint on what we are dealing with and the way forward. Now, I want you to imagine this. Let's start there. Imagine your water pipe is leaking. Most of us who live in the diaspora, we experience this every now and then. Your water pipe is leaking. You call a plumber. They arrive. They talk confidently. They sound educated. They can present their resumes and you, oh wow, this individual actually went to school and studied how to become a plumber. But after they finish, the pipe is still leaking. You don't step back and say they don't want to do the right thing. Many people assumed Pobia doesn't want to do the right thing. Maybe somewhere Sako Ekane doesn't want to do the right thing. Chris Anu doesn't want to do the right thing. That is not the real problem. We don't look at the behavior of that plumber and assume they don't want to do the right thing. This is what we do. The first thought that comes to your mind is they don't know what they are doing. A poor job is a sign of incompetence. If 1 + 1 is equal to 2, and someone tells you 1 + 1 is equal to 3, you don't assume they don't want to do the right thing. You assume they don't know. When you look at their behavior and it's not consistent with someone that knows, don't jump into conclusion that they don't want to do the right thing. And we can clamor on social media, and insult everyone and hope that change comes. They don't know. That is why third world countries struggle. Because these individuals don't know. Because life gets easier when you know and then you do what you know. That is wisdom. There is a distinction between knowledge and wisdom. The person who went through the school, had the certificate, but when you look at their actions in the real world, you can tell they don't have wisdom. So, then what do you do when you realize the plumber did not do a good job? You don't call a meeting of plumbers in the city, which is what I see some saying. Everybody come together, come together. If you don't know and you come together, it won't change the situation. You don't call all the plumbers in the city, let's unite. You don't beg them to unite. You don't form a plumbers association to solve that problem. You go quietly and look for the plumber who understands the job. Because in real life, results reveals competence. That is why, my people, we have been where we are till today. It is exactly what has happened with our struggle. So for more than 60 years, the pipe has been leaking. The wrong people kept trying to fix it. Some had titles, degrees, and long resumes, but the pipe never stopped leaking. That is why I always remind our people, never confuse knowledge for wisdom. If knowledge alone solves real problems, every physics professor will build an airplane. Every software professor will write the code to Facebook. Every law professor, professors of law, would produce justice in their own country. But life doesn't work that way. Competence solves problems, not titles. Wisdom solves national issues, not emotion. We have been trying so hard to solve our problems using emotions. Our pattern is predictable. Oh, there's injustice. Oh, go on the street. Oh, pick up gun and fight. This is our pattern. It's consistent with every community where you see black people or minorities or people who lack competence. That is their pattern. They don't diagnose the root cause of the issue. I want us to listen to Minister Atanga and Jipo, and then we'll wrap up everything. But just remain steadfast to the Ambazonia crisis, because we'll tie everything together. Okay? We'll address even France in this video. Some of you are scared of France, isn't it? Like some told me, oh, France will get me. No. By the time we are done with this case, France will be 100% on the side of truth. And I'm not doing this because I come from Southern Cameroons alone. I'm doing this because it is the right thing to do. The people of Southern Cameroons have been violated. La République du Cameroun extended their administration into a UN trust territory without documentation. And it is wrong by every standard. We will also look at the idea of the German Cameroon you've heard in Cameroon. Let's listen to Minister Atanga and Jipo. He has released a statement recently regarding the Mr. Ekane's death. And it's very, very important that we look into that. And many are like, oh, this man, you will go to prison. This man, God will punish you. Your time is coming. All sorts of things. Emotions will not solve issues of this magnitude. Let's take a listen.
Les amalgames en disant que c'était un martyr. Non, c'est Jésus qui est mort, je précise bien, pour sauver l'humanité. Il n'a pas demandé à quelqu'un de violer les lois de la République. Et puis, quand il y a un accident de parcours, on dit que c'est un martyr ou un héros. Il n'est ni l'un ni l'autre.
Vous parlez de Ekane. Quelle a été votre réaction à l'annonce de ce décès?
Bon, d'abord, je dis, en tant que chrétien, que son corps repose en paix. Mais il faut éviter les amalgames. Parce que je trouve qu'il y a beaucoup d'amalgames au sujet de M. Ekane. Les gens disent que c'était mon ami. C'est une connaissance, je le connais. Il y a d'autres qui ont dit que c'était pas notre ami, mais en tant que tutelle politique, quand il venait ici pour les affaires de Manidem, bon, ma porte était ouverte, je le recevais. Alors je le savais malade. Il y a un an.
If you've watched that entire video, Minister Atanganji is saying Mr. Ekane is not a martyr. He's not Jesus that has died. And others are saying, oh, he would have stayed quiet instead of making such utterances. My people, Atanganji Paul is not the cause of what Cameroon is going through. Atanganji Paul is the effect of what Cameroon is going through. This same man created a gang, and they were murdering thousands of Anglophones. Thousands of Anglophones for 9 years. Not a single leader in that government, not a single leader, prominent leader in the Francophone zone stood up to address the root cause of this problem. Everyone was sanitizing the problem. Again, because they don't know. With that, it keeps me calm, because if they know, they would have done the right thing. So they don't know. So this video is also an attempt to help them understand what is going on with them and why things are the way they are in La République du Cameroun and in Southern Cameroons. When he was doing the same thing on the other side, there are many Southern Cameroonians who stayed quiet while thousands of our people perished. Today, because it is Mr. Ekane, they are speaking up. I don't blame them. When you don't understand this problem the way it really is, it is okay to be confused. But today, after this video, every confusion will be clarified. Less than 1% of Cameroonians and Southern Cameroonians understand the depth of this problem. And this video is also an attempt to help you have clarity on that. Now, when people get frustrated that someone refuses to do the right thing, that frustration reveals their own misunderstanding of the issue. Because if I'm frustrated because someone is not doing the right thing, when that person doesn't have the wisdom to do the right thing, then that frustration reveals my misunderstanding about their incompetence. When you assume that a person actually knows the right thing to do, you will be frustrated. You will be angry. You will come online and you will rant, and you're going to spew out the grievances in your heart based on your understanding of that issue, based on the fact that individual is competent. So I never assume that. Never. I always assume they don't know. And that is why Southern Cameroons must separate the emotional crowd from those who truly understand the matter. Just using that name Ambazonia tells me instantly the individual doesn't understand this problem. Ambazonia assumes a union treaty existed between La République du Cameroun and Southern Cameroons. The name change in 1984 by President Paul Biya from the United Republic of Cameroon to the Republic of Cameroon was cessation from that union. So they are saying you will follow that cessation to the logical conclusion. Hence, Ambazonia. So the fact that you assume a union treaty exists tells me you don't understand this problem.
And if you follow my lecture rightly, the country that has seceded from union is La République de Cameroon, which has seceded. They declared their secession on February the 4th, 1984. It is they who have seceded. And we say you must follow your secession to the logical conclusion by pulling out of Ambazonia, or we have to stage a liberation war.
Godjin Dinka, the founder of Ambazonia, had this as his logical explanation of this problem. We might say, oh, Southern Cameroons is being marginalized, is being treated poorly. And so because of this pain, we are looking for a story to tell, to justify before the world why we should be free from this pain. We pick up Ambazonia as the tool to justify the injustice our people have been going through. When the world hears the name Ambazonia, it is hard for any international organization or the international community to engage. Just even within Africa, it is hard for other African nations to get involved with the name Ambazonia, because it is assumed it is a cessationist movement. So the name itself traps you in a union that never existed. So when you put that name Ambazonia on the table, I want you to understand exactly what we are looking at. That is why we were looking for recognition because you will need to be recognized with Ambazonia. But the Southern Cameroons case is a case of incomplete decolonization. So if I place the name Southern Cameroons on the table, instant recognition by 193 countries. The next question will be, what is the problem? And then I will go on to explain. Incomplete decolonization, no union treaty. Because we have no union treaty, so there is no legal document binding us with La République du Cameroon. I don't want to rush myself. We'll get into that. But remember, this another pillar, we lay that down. Remember, there are many legal minds, Issa Chiruma Bakari included, that supported that system and said those in the Southern Cameroons were crazy, even though they didn't frame their argument properly. Some did, but were ignored, like Barrister Harmony Bobga. But today, we are presenting before you a full picture of this problem. Now, you build a system on lies. You build a system on illegality. You endorse it. You work for it. Now you are looking for justice from that same system. That is the case of Issa Chiruma Bakari, Maurice Kamto, and Mr. Ekane. You all contributed to build that Cameroon we see today. So if you can't get justice out of the very system you built, step back and question the foundation. Don't be in a rush to put in new furnitures, because that won't fix the problem. Because this is what we are doing, my people. If I have roaches coming into my house and I have kids and I don't want roaches in my house, there are two ways you can go about solving that problem. You either diagnose the root cause of that problem, or I deal with the effect, which is the roaches inside my home. Now, the root cause might be a dirty kitchen, dirty bathroom. I either clean my kitchen, clean my bathroom, or I go to a local Walmart and buy the best roach spray. Spray them every time they come out. Turn off the light and wait till they come out, and then I turn on the light and I spray them. That is the strategy we have been using in Africa predominantly to solve our problems. The individual who is the loudest, the individual who can organize the best crowd to go out and protest, and if it's not working, get a gun and fight. That is a predictable pattern with us and most minority groups around the world. Or I will diagnose the root cause. Maybe there are some holes on the wall. Go address that problem. That is where the roach comes in my house in the first place. We seal that hole. Maybe the kitchen cabinets are dirty. We go on to make sure they remain clean all the time, including my bathtub or bathroom. With that, I'll keep the roaches away. You can either choose the roach spray approach, or you can choose to solve the root cause of the problem, which is sealing those holes and keeping your cabinets clean. My goal for this video is that we seal the holes and keep the cabinets clean and the bathroom clean, so the roaches have nothing to feed on. So with that, they stay away from my house. This Ambazonian war, and then we'll get into another dimension of this conversation. This Ambazonian war should never have happened. Let me speak plainly so you understand. The Ambazonian war should never have happened. It was born out of emotion, not clarity. And emotion without foundation destroys a nation. Even from our founder, Gojin Dinka, the strategy was sitting on the wrong base. This is why the Ambazonian leader must stop fighting each other. There's nothing to unite on. There was no union treaty. And so you can't be building a movement based on a union treaty that did not exist. Imagine you're trying to really seek justice based on a union treaty that never existed. Let me tell you something. This is one thing that I did that destroyed the entire Ambazonian argument. All the legal minds within the Ambazonian group have to deal with this reality. I placed one word, which is the foundation of their practice: jurisdiction. Yes, the Union Treaty is absent. Yes, we had Article 102 of the UN Charter, 76B. But the fact that Gojin Dinka took this case to the Bamenda High Court and claimed victory told me instantly he doesn't understand this problem. Jurisdiction. It's like when Paul visited Athens. All he did was place the word logos on the table. There was no way the Romans couldn't engage in that conversation, because it touched everything that they had ever believed. This is what the word jurisdiction did to the legal minds in the Southern Cameroons and to La République du Cameroun. Bamenda High Court is not a proper jurisdiction. Those who claimed they wanted to have dialogue with Paul Biya, they had the Grand National Dialogue. Che Ayaba and other groups went to Canada to have dialogue with Paul Biya. That indicates these individuals do not understand this problem. There are only two entities that can deliberate over this issue with precision: the UK and the United Nations. And the proper department at the United Nations. If someone tells you they went to another court other than these two entities, forget it. Imagine you have an issue with your wife, and then the wife gets up, employ a judge, establish a court, and then say, oh, I want you to come in that court. Let's judge this issue. Who do you think is going to win? Your wife. That is the case. If you take the Ambazonia case to the Bamenda High Court, who do you think will win? Ambazonians. If you bring Southern Cameroonians in La République du Cameroun to judge a case that has to do with Southern Cameroons, who do you think will win the case? La République du Cameroun, in their courts, in their system. If we have a problem between, say, Northwest and the West region, yeah, La République du Cameroun could solve that problem if a union treaty existed. But you can't have a problem that has to do with the UN Trust Territory, Southern Cameroons, and La République du Cameroun. These are UN Trust Territories. And we go to any court in Africa to solve that problem. So the Banjul, the Abuja, all of that just collapses. I say since 1995, all the petitions from the Southern Cameroons submitted at the UN has been all wrong department, and the case not properly framed. So we will continue listening to this video, but my people, is this blessing you? Yeah, keep sharing this link as much as you can, because people will continue to be loud about this issue while our people perish. And they don't understand how to go about solving this problem. It's about competence. It's not about unity. When you identify someone that is competent, you can tell from how I explain things. It makes it so easy, because my brother, if you can explain it and a class 5 child doesn't understand what you're saying, then you don't understand that problem. You see how I make it so easy? Even within you, even before interpreting the UN laws, even before bringing in some of the articles, just how I present it before you, something inside of you says, nah, this is the right thing. Even if you have never been exposed to this material. This is what understanding does. Now, let's keep listening.
It is from this perspective that I call.
Now, Maurice Kamto is a professor of law in La République du Cameroon. He's a politician, yet he doesn't understand this problem. You will listen to his proposition, and then we'll go into Barrister Harmony Bobga, and then we'll tie everything together. Frameworks, clarity, simplicity. Let's take a listen.
On the various stakeholders through the following proposals, which aim to provide concrete solutions to the grievances of our compatriots of the English-speaking regions, while respecting the unity of our nation. As I have indicated in many previous statements, my approach in the resolution of this crisis is underpinned by the precondition that the secessionists undertake to renounce the partition of the country and to seek such a partition. If this prerequisite will be accepted by all.
So Maurice Kamto is talking about cessationist. This is a professor of law. Again, knowledge is not equal to wisdom. And I've heard some of his arguments on this case. So I teach. I don't assume he knows. Because if you know, you should do what is right. If I watch you and your actions are not consistent with someone that knows, I assume you don't know, and so we teach. It is easy for us who practice common law to understand civil law easily because it is written in codes. So I will not jump into conclusion that he knows and doesn't want to do the right thing. If you know, you should do the right thing. If you are not doing the right thing, then you don't know. This is a professor of law. So the first place is to assume they don't know, and then we teach. I told you, my father is 4 years older than Paul Biya. He was a learned man, self-taught. When we have disagreements, we will sit down and talk. He did not say, oh, you're too young, so I won't listen to you. No. If what I'm saying is accurate, he changes his mind. And if what he is saying is accurate, I changed my mind. With that, we became friends. I was not just a child to my father. I was his best friend. When he was going out, I'm the one that will hold his back. We go out to those meetings. 4 years older than Pobia. So when I hear an elder give such propositions, and he is a professor of law, I assume he doesn't know. And I've heard some of his arguments. And they've tried to compare Southern Cameroons with Northern Cameroons during our plebiscite. We were asked, do you choose to gain independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon or gain independence by joining Nigeria? Those were the two questions asked. But we can't just stop there. One thing you should remember is we left Nigeria in 1954, while those in the Northern Cameroons stayed. So for them, the question really looked like, do you choose to gain independence by remaining in Nigeria? While we left Nigeria and established our own system. Let me rush through this really quick. This is what you should understand. Southern Cameroons left Nigeria in 1954 with full British and Nigerian agreement. They became a self-governing territory with its own prime minister, parliament, that is House of Assembly, House of Chiefs, judiciary based on common law, government ministries, public service, and a capital in Boya. So this is why the UN classified Southern Cameroons as a fully self-governing entity under Article 73B. Northern Cameroons never reached that status. I want to clarify those in La République du Cameroon and in the Southern Cameroons that are a little bit confused about these two entities. So, if you look at Northern Cameroon, they stayed inside Nigeria's constitutional system. Northern Cameroons never walked out of the Nigerian House of Assembly. It remained an integral part of Nigeria right up to the 1961 plebiscite. And from then formalized that choice by voting to stay with Nigeria. So they never left Enugu, created a separate government, formed their own executive, formed their own legislative, or operated under a separate legal system. So legally and administratively, Northern Cameroons was Nigeria the whole time. Now, this is what I want you to pay attention to. This creates two different legal stories. Northern Cameroons stayed inside Nigeria, voted to remain, case closed. Their decolonization process complete. That is what we see at the UN archives. And for those who say Paul Biya can bribe foreign nations to manufacture a union treaty, let me just lay that to rest. You cannot manipulate Article 102 of the UN Charter. No country on earth can do that. So that cheap politics and corruption that is going on in Cameroon, don't think you can cross out of Africa with that into the UN. Southern Cameroons left Nigeria, became self-governing, UN supervised trust territory, required a union treaty for a new state. No treaty was ever signed. Decolonization remains incomplete till today. That is why I told you the federal system in Cameroon, Issa Chiroma returned back to the federal system. The UN doesn't recognize that a federation existed in Cameroon in 1961. Because any changes or amendments that has to do with the trust territory, the UN must be notified. So, in essence, if we adopted a federal system and a union treaty existed, if they had to change from a federal system of government to a unitary system of government, the UN ought to be notified. We don't have that there. If they wanted to change from a unitary system to La République du Cameroun and a union treaty existed, yet they had to notify the UN. They did not do any of that because to begin with, there is no union treaty. So it's crazy for them to think of notifying the UN that the system was being changed from a federal system to a unitary system. Do you understand? And that is what they did in 1972. And then in 1984, they changed the name back to La République du Cameroun. All of that happened within La République du Cameroun using their framework, their constitution, their laws. And it's illegal. And this is what happens with our compatriots. Because your foundation is built on lies. Maurice Kamto could not be president. So this is someone that wants to serve his people. Because he doesn't understand the problem, or because he enforces the system, he sends his hands inside of what he has created, and yet justice cannot come out. So he lost the election. So he might have good intentions to serve his people. I don't think they are bad people. You might have good intentions, but what you have built prevents you from getting justice to even serve your people. What Issa Chiroma Bakari has built, that government, he can send his hand inside and get justice, wins the election and has to be on the run. That means truth is a problem with the system that you've built. That means compliance is a problem with the system that you have built. We don't just say, oh, maybe Pobia is the problem. Oh, Atanga is the problem. Oh, it started with Ayijo. We thought he was the problem. And then after Ayijo, we say, oh, no, Pobia is the solution. Afterwards, Pobia became the problem. Now, from Pobia, we are looking at, oh, Ninja Frunzi could save us. Oh, no, he was not the one. He was defrauded. He could not get justice. It is insane thinking that we did not have a union treaty and Ninja Frunzi wanted to become a president of La République du Cameroun. I want you, this case, by the time we are done, I said, it will be studied across universities globally in law and political science. That is where we are going with this. It is amazing to see how people can destroy themselves because of ignorance or self-deception. Atanga Paul is inside of that system, preventing you from getting justice from the same system you built. My people in the Southern Cameroons, I know there is a tendency of always dragging your own when they are up, but let's step back and reason. Atanga Paul is the effect of the system they built. So what they build prevents everyone else, including them, from getting justice from the system they built. Issa Chiroma won the election, yet he's not the president. I say we step back because they said the plebiscite was joining. So you step back and then you say you've seen that voting is not equal to becoming president in the system you've built. And this is a civil law system. Lawyers of La République du Cameroun, the legal minds of La République du Cameroun, should understand this case better than us. And let me explain. This is the difference between common law and civil law. I want to make it so simple that even the grandmother in the village will understand. Now, the civil law system is written in codes predominantly. That is, if 1 + 1 is equal to 2, there is no debate about that. So if 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, everyone agrees. So the judge gives a verdict or a ruling. Now, in a common law system, we are going to ask a series of questions. That's why I told you English has been dominating the world for over 300 years. Because the English system forces you to think. You don't just say 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So with a common law system, we are going to ask, what did you add? You say, oh, was it 1 banana plus 1 banana is equal to 2 bananas? Or was it 1 banana plus 1 orange that is equal to the 2? If it is 1 banana plus 1 banana is equal to 2, then that is accurate. But if it's 1 banana plus 1 orange equal to 2, we have to take into consideration the variables. If we used fruits as the category to sum up this equation, then that is accurate. If it was banana, then this too is wrong. You see common law? So we think that's the difference between common law and civil law. But they write their laws in quotes. So there is little argument. So someone from the Francophone zone that have studied law to an extent should understand this case better than those in Southern Cameroons. That no union treaty is equal to no union. Resolution 1608 was issued after the plebiscite. The plebiscite was an interest to join. It was not joining all by itself. The resolution 1608, Article 102 of the UN Charter, explain exactly how this union will be created. It had to be signed, first of all, negotiated. That is why we had Fumban. Then the union had to be signed, ratified, and registered at the UN. If it exists, it will be there today, and we should see it there today. Do you understand? So, in essence, if there is no ratification, no signing, no registration at the UN, Maurice Kamto should be the first individual to say no union exists. We don't go on to babble around Anglophone cessation. To use this word tells me he doesn't know, he doesn't understand, so we teach. Their laws are written in codes. So if there is no union treaty, there is no union. There should be no debate. We don't even get to Ambazonia, that a union existed and now La Republique changed the name and it was seceding from the union. We don't even get there. So these are codes. So some people will say, oh, have you called this person and talked to them? No, this brother, you don't need to call your teacher again today to know that 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Last time I taught us about BODMAS. These are frameworks. That is why you see these developed nations work, because everything they do follow framework. Ours is emotion. If you wake up this morning and feel like everything should change in our part of the world, you can go on to institute that. And that is why our own systems don't work. That is why we struggle. We claimed we wanted independence. We clamored for independence. Now we cannot be free to speak in the countries where we got the independence. We are free to speak in the countries we were trying to gain independence from. So this is the dilemma black people are going through across the globe, and specifically this area of interest. So we left Nigeria. Our status is incomplete decolonization as we speak today. So Northern Cameroons and Southern Cameroons cannot be compared. These are two distinct entities with different legal paths, well documented at the UN. You can't play with this. That is why they struggle to get justice. He can serve his own people even with good intentions. Issa Chuma can't serve his own people even with good intentions because of the foundation they've laid that prevents them from getting justice out of what they've built. So Atanga and Paul is an effect. From Aijo, they did the same thing. Right down to Paul Biya, the same thing. So it's not the individual. Stop looking at Atanga Paul Biya, Maurice Kamto, Issa Chiruma Bakari. Focus on the foundation. Remember, I told you that we are looking at sealing the holes, cleaning the cabinets to keep the roaches out of the house and not looking for a roach spray. We will continue listening to this video, but that is his proposition of this crisis. We don't have no business with La République du Cameroon because none from La République du Cameroon has a signature on paper that validates this union. Let me repeat that slowly. No one from La République du Cameroon has a signature on paper that validates this union. So they gave you the passport, the ID card, birth certificate, brought the maps, changed the maps, changed the stars on the flag, told you you were a Cameroonian, gave you a national ID card, and then told you that this is who you are today. Sir, you can't do that. I will get to that, but more than 86 million people died for this partition in this geographical location to be made. The First World War, more than 16 million people died. The Second World War, more than 70 million people died for Cameroon, German Cameroon, to be partitioned. All these institutions that were created after the First World War and Second World War, you can't break any law written by these institutions for convenience. And this is what La République du Cameroon has done for 65 years. And when you frame this as a local issue, we go on social media and clamor for change. This is an international dispute. This case is bigger than the war between Russia and Ukraine because that is a territorial dispute. This war is bigger than the case between Israel and Palestine. That is a territorial dispute in that region. The case of Southern Cameroons. This is a case of a UN trust territory. It's a global issue. That is why you drop that name Ambazonia as fast as possible. And let's go through the right channel, do things the right way, so that our people can be free. And those in La République du Cameroon can be free. Because these corrupt leaders, there is no way you ever have a just leader on this foundation in La République du Cameroon. If you understand the depth of this problem, never will you have a just leader. And if you don't deal with the root cause, you will only install another dictator. We'll continue listening to the video, but is this opening your eyes? Yeah.
I propose the following actions to all stakeholders. At the military level, A, I call for an immediate ceasefire and the establishment of a disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration process for insurgent fighters. B, I ask for a general amnesty for the benefit of all those involved in this conflict, together with the release of those detained in this context.
So you've heard that. One thing I want to say on that, and then we'll go to the next video, it's very, very important. You see, from every indication, he doesn't understand the problem. His solutions are very vague and shallow. La République du Cameroon doesn't have jurisdictional power over this case. And so never, ever dialogue with La République over this case. You will get yourself trapped into another cage that you won't get out of in the next 20 to 30 years. Don't give people power when they don't have jurisdiction, because they won't even help you at the end of the day. It's like a Muslim praying to Jesus for help. It's like you who believe in a native doctor and you're trying to go to church to scream, Jesus help me. No, you know what to do. You know where to go. They are not the jurisdiction that can preside over this case. So why is this very important? My people, some people don't understand what jurisdiction is all about. Let me explain, because maybe the word is too big for others to understand. So jurisdiction is the legal authority to hear a case, make a decision, and enforce that decision. Let me repeat that again. A jurisdiction is the legal authority to hear a case, make a decision, and enforce that decision. So, who has the right to judge this matter? These are the questions you ask. Number one. Number two, where can this case be tried? Number three, what kind of issue can this court legally decide? If you can't answer that question, don't seek for justice. Truth, jurisdiction before justice, and then you have peace. Who organized the plebiscite? The UN. Was it La Republic and the UN? No, the UN. If there is an issue with Southern Cameroons, who is in the best position to judge this case? The UN. Do you have any union treaty with La Republic du Cameroon in the first place? No. Why do you want to dialogue with La Republic du Cameroon? Do you understand? I'll tell you what traps us even mentally, but you get how crazy it is to want to seek justice from La Republic du Cameroon? Again, I said most of our Francophone counterparts, with all humility, and those in the Southern Cameroons, you have the English heritage. English has run the war for 300 years. They have to interpret what is going on in the English war to understand in the French war. English has influenced science, technology, law, international trade, diplomacy for 300 years. General Charles de Gaulle, the president of France, their colonial master, when Hitler had occupied France, ran to America and Britain to seek refuge. He was making speeches abroad to free his country under the cover of an English nation. America is the greatest country on earth, and they speak English, with a GDP of over 30 trillion US dollars. The GDP of the entire sub-Saharan Africa is not up to 1/10 of that of the United States of America. So these are the people you're dealing with. But by the time you don't know who you are, you will always look small around them. I said 10 Southern Cameroonians who know who they are might be equivalent to 2 million people from La Republic du Cameroon. This is not making anyone look small. This is about competence. So he doesn't understand what he's talking about. You educate. If not, you switch and start using a kind of language that brings you beneath them because you lack the depth of understanding about who you are and the case we are dealing with. So that is what jurisdiction is all about. Now, the question I'll ask you again is, do you think we should dialogue with La Republic after understanding what jurisdiction is in the context of our case? The answer should be a resounding no. Share this so your people know who they are, and I hope that they get their act together so that they can be able to build a nation for their people. This is the thing. I heard about the resource thing in the mix. This is my advice to the legal minds and citizens of La République du Cameroon. Switzerland was not built on natural resources. If that is something that holds you back, be upright and honest people. You build a good nation. Follow the law. You'll be fine. We'll help you. We'll work with you guys. I understand black people have gone through a lot. This is 553 years. We are still here. Switzerland was not built on natural resources. Singapore was not built on natural resources. Some of your leaders go save their money in Switzerland. So these nations were not built on natural resources. They were built on honesty, strong institutions. That is why Africa struggles. Japan was not built on natural resources. South Korea was not built on natural resources. All these nations, you've seen the impact they've made globally because they build on truth and strong institutions. You don't have any union treaty with Southern Cameroons. You are illegal in their land. The extension of your administration into a UN trust territory without a ratified union treaty, that is a breach of international law. That is a violation of what millions of people went through to create laws that can bring about peace and stability. Let me stretch this further. You see, they talk about German Cameroon. Again, that is another dimension of ignorance that could get them in trouble. Real trouble. My people, the entire world came together to break the yoke of Hitler, not only in Europe, but everywhere else around the world. That is why I said over 86 million people died, and the institutions that were erected to create laws that govern the world and bring about peace and stability and make the world safe for democracy, trade, and worship. For you, a citizen of La République du Cameroon, to say that this was part of a German colony and so we are reuniting and you celebrate that on 20th May is an insult to the world. It's an insult to France. It's an insult to Britain. It's an insult to the United Nations. It's an insult to the millions of people that died to break the yoke of Hitler globally. So you are trying to apologize to Hitler or what? What are you trying to do? They say these things out of ignorance. And they don't know the legal consequences of saying we were part of German Cameroon. But that is your business. Again, I'm saying if you get your act right, we will solve this thing another way. But if you guys continue in this, it's really going to be bad on you. And I don't want that for any black person. Go pick books and read. Study this case well and have conversation across your land with your people and get your act together fast. That is my message, honestly, to La République du Cameroon. Because we are still scratching the surface. It will take us 3 months to compile the file of this case. It's going to be bad. Let's do things the right way. So what you are saying is the world made a mistake to fight Germany during the First and Second World War. So what you are saying is Germany was doing the right thing. France lost millions of people in that war. Britain lost millions of people in that war. General Charles de Gaulle had to flee from his own country. Winston Churchill made the speech, we will fight by day, we will fight by night, we will fight in the rain, we will fight in the seas, and we will fight in the air. We will never surrender. So they made a mistake. And you came back and had a conversation among yourselves, violated the Article 102 of the UN Charter, and then you recreated German Cameroon. I want you to understand the legal implications of that one statement. It can create a third world war. Let's keep listening. I want you to listen to this video. This was an interview conducted between Barrister Harmony Bobga and Issa Chiruma Bakari. Issa Chiruma Bakari said, oh, we can return back to federalism. Seceding from the nation? No. What are we seceding from? What are we seceding from? And you call our people secessionist? From a legal union that existed? I told you Amadu Ayijo has the education equivalent to Form 3. Became a radio operator and got into politics from the north. It's a brother of Issa Chiruma Bakari. So don't forget, that is why I don't use surface level conversations to solve real existential problems. He's his brother. Amadu Ayijo laid the foundation for this corruption. And I'm not confused about what is going on at the surface level. And he said, we were secessionists. He said he was in contact with secessionists. He doesn't understand the history. This is someone that told you that he will fight for your freedom. Now he's running for his own life because he has built a system that he himself cannot get justice out of. So you don't, Atanga Jipo, this, Ngongo. Nah. Let's look at the foundation of this country. And stop destroying your people and destroying a people from a neighboring nation that you are not legally bound to. Changing flags, stars, maps, constitutions won't cut it. Will never substitute a union treaty. And that is where your breakthrough starts. Anything else is a facade. You try, talk as much as you can. Let's listen to this interview. So those in the Southern Cameroons, pay attention. Those who are supporting Issa Chiruma Bakari, just want to play the politics and be comfortable. Let's take a listen.
Harmony, there are lawyers and there are teachers on strike right now. What are you aiming to achieve from this strike?
We communicated to the government since the 9th of May 2015, this is more than 1 year ago, the things that we're not happy about, and the government kept silent. After that, we issued about 7 communiques to the head of state, complaining about the same thing, and there was no response. The government is playing the ostrich in the face of the problems that we have raised. And as the Minister of Communication is invoking the idea of bad faith, the people with the crystallized bad faith is the government. They are doing just the wrong thing in responding to the complaints of a people who are aggrieved. And he has talked about dialogue. We have had the parliamentarians talk with us. We have had the Prime Minister come and talk to us. And what they are thinking they can do is to send after ever so often people to come and talk with us until the thing will wear out. The truth about it is that the government knows that as far as there is no act of union between Southern Cameroon and the Republic of Cameroon, they do not want to discuss the issue of Southern Cameroon, and it tends to dilute it.
As long as they know, take that from Barrister Harmony Bobga, at least that foundation is well established from a legal mind. And what I have done is help us bring structure, frameworks, a solution, and a path forward. There is no act of, not even dialogue, will our Republic will cut this. So that is some of the mistakes they made. And I understand why. The reason why barrister will go that way is because in our community, We believe in the idea of Pan-Africanism. And that Pan-Africanism is the biggest challenge for every Southern Cameroonian, psychologically. You can't want Africa to dissolve their borders, and then there is an issue that has to do with an act of union, and then you make a big deal out of that. So psychologically you are crippled. So you have to choose, because you can be an African, you can be a pro-African and be a Southern Cameroonian and push this cause to the end. You can never be a Pan-Africanist and be a Southern Cameroonian at the same time. It contradicts your belief system. And so with that, that is a barrier that you have inside your head. Because Pan-Africanism is saying, dissolve every border. So you either choose to serve your people, or you will choose to hope for the day Africa will become one and all those borders dissolve. So you start by letting go of your own border and let La Republic do with you as they want. Or you say, making Southern Cameroons great is making Africa great. We are the only one with this idea of uniting an entire continent into one country in the world. We are the only one with this idea. China, making China great is making Asia great. Singapore, making Singapore great is making Asia great. If Nigeria makes Nigeria great, they are making Africa great. That model is predictable. It has worked across time. We are trapped inside the ideas of a dead man, Kwame Nkrumah, that was not well thought out. That is the modern Pan-Africanism. The original founders of Pan-Africanism, it was not about one Africa under a political idea. They just had 4 problems they wanted to solve. Number 1, they wanted to address the issue of slavery and slave trade. They wanted to address the issue of colonialism. They wanted to address the issue of racism and cultural erasure. These were the 4 pillars of the original Pan-Africanism. That's what the Pan-Africanist originally stood for. It has been weaponized and used as a political movement in Africa. For 65 years today, we haven't broken that trap. So one Africa is against Western influence. So with that, you can't even have other nations really help you, because your thinking prevents them. Because this wall is not just physical, it's psychological. So if you think evil about them, that's why you can't even think through your own problem well and help your brother get their act together. Are you going to choose to be part of the world, or you want to choose to be part of Pan-Africanism, one Africa with no borders? If your idea is one Africa with no borders, then there is no way for you to win psychologically before you even win physically. I'm dealing with reality here and something that is practical. And that is why I think clearly this way about our problem, with no emotions. So Barrister has outlined it perfectly, that there is no union treaty and they don't want to have that conversation. Let's see how Issa Juruma Bakari responds to that. You really believe that Issa Juruma Bakari can help you, Southern Cameroonians? I mean, seriously, you believe it? How? Tell me how. Tell me how. Is Issa Juruma Bakari the UN? Was it Issa Juruma Bakari that organized the plebiscite? Do you have any union treaty with Issa Juruma Bakari? How will it help you? Again, we became Cameroonians not by legal legitimacy. We became Cameroonians by learned acceptance. Dictatorship systems around the world train people this way. That's why you see even citizens of La Republic of Cameroon speak this way. Talk about, they get confused at some point, and that's why they bring in German Cameroon. That we were all one under Germany, not understanding the legal implication of that statement. Do you understand what I'm saying? What do you think Issa Juruma Bakari can help you with? After 2 months, all of a sudden he realized himself that he was sorry. We accept apology, but it doesn't mean we put you in power, sir. We accept apology. It doesn't mean you are competent to solve our problems, sir. We accept your apology. Let the public deal with it. Whoever they want to put as president, that is their business. Whether he becomes president or not, it has nothing to do with us. So save that energy.
By referring to his own region, I would like to ask the minister, when you escaped from Cameroon after you were harassed in this country by this government, and you met us in the Bronx, the language you gave out against the president of the republic, is that the same language you are maintaining now that you have been rehabilitated as the minister after disposing of your party virtually?
I want you to see how Issa Chiroma Bakari makes fun of your leader. And this is the only legal mind that has touched on one firm pillar on this case. I don't take it lightly when I see him laugh out of ignorance or politics on issues like this.
You may laugh, but it is a serious matter. In Cameroon,
Please.
and other appointees, when they take
Harmony.
the opportunity to eat, they forget about the real issues and the...
That is why I encourage our people, before you pick up a gun, pick up a book, think through your problem well. You have the English heritage in you. That system has run the world for 300 years and it doesn't miss. It is something we can rely on and make progress in this war. He was making fun of Barrister Harmony Bogga before the war. Let me ask you, what do you do when someone makes fun of your father right before your face? You step up today to support them. He's no better than Pobia. All of them are the same confused people. At the end of the day, we should be thinking of how to help free their people from the hands of leaders like Paul Biya and Issa Chiroma Bakari and the rest that have no true speech in their mouth. All is politics. Even Chris Anu said Issa Chiroma Bakari is not his friend like the way he explained it. They make fun of us at every point, even during these elections. He did the same thing. Go ask Chris Anu, are you really a good friend with Issa Chiroma Bakari as he claims? Chris Anu will probably say no. And if the answer is no, why do you have to waste time on issues like this?
Please, Madam, I totally and completely disagree with what the lawyer said. I'm a politician. I'm a political leader. I am free to choose my way. And if I am wrong, this is my problem. This is not your problem.
Issa Chiroma Bakari said he is a politician. A politician thinks about the next election. A leader thinks about the next generation. So now that you've heard all of this, let's tie it together. The Ambazonia war should have never happened. We have to be honest with our people. And this is what will set us apart from La République du Cameroon. When you look at the reality of this story, La République never seceded from a union. So the Ambazonian war was uncalled for. We would have been fighting a different kind of war. And as we continue with this, for the young men on the ground that have guns, we'll go on to build an army. Defend your territory. Stay away from the Ambazonian labels. But defend your land. It is your right to stand up for your land. My people, if our people understood this case the way I'm presenting it, you will have more Southern Cameroonians involved. And you rarely see a Southern Cameroonian vouching for La République du Cameroon after understanding this. Even some who are in pain right now or think they are part of La République, when everything is said and done, human beings always gravitate towards safety. They will denounce that bondage with La République. All the mental justification they have right now as to how things should have been or things will be if they have a good president, they will abandon all of that. So I'm not worried. You get it? So this war would have never happened. It was born out of emotion, not clarity. Us being honest about our story like this is what the war respects. You will see where we will go. I said, the vision is a first world country, nothing less. Once we are done with this legal foundation, in the next 20 years, we will build the first world nation in Africa. And this is the foundation that builds nations that last. Not another gimmicks, another way that you can manipulate things. Nah, that is why the Ambazonian leaders are fighting abroad. Again, I'll tell you guys, my elder brothers, let's seek truth, share truth about our story. We will make progress. People fight like that because they are not clear about the story. For those who are hoping that every leader within Ambazonia will change their mind, let me help you with this. When Jesus Christ showed up, there was Judaism. Even till today, we still have the Old Testament. It is not wrong, but the New Testament is better. It completes the Old Testament. It fulfills the Old Testament. Christ said, I did not come to abolish the law. I came to fulfill the law. So those who understood left the old and joined the new. Those who were fighting Jesus Christ, they have not disappeared even till today. So if your hope is that you build a community where everyone will come together before change happens, it will take you forever for that to happen. So you just join what is working, and then what is not working will change. When Amazon started home delivery, other companies were like, okay, let's see where this will take us. Today, including Walmart, if you don't have home delivery, you're going to struggle in this dispensation. So when something better shows up, you, the people, this is a responsibility you have. You gravitate towards the truth, towards what is good, and then what is not good will align with the truth or fades away. You don't go on to say, let everybody unite before change happens. Remember the story I started this conversation with. Okay? So that is what happens. If you're waiting for people, it's because there's no clarity. If you want everybody to unite before change comes, that indicates that there is no clarity. Once there is clarity, you know where to go to find truth. So Jesus Christ came in with something better. Today, they have 2 billion plus Christians. Look at the number of people who still practice Judaism today. When a better store comes in town, what happens? Everybody goes to that store. You don't go to reform every store in that community. That's what we do in our own system. We try to make sure, can we call all the other stores that are not working and then have a conversation on how to improve the system? No, you just move into the new store. And that is what you should do moving forward. That is a responsibility you have. Sharing this video, engaging with others, that is the responsibility you have for this new information to get into the minds of everyone else. So, the Ambazonian war should have never happened. It was born out of emotion, not clarity. An emotion without foundation destroys nations. Even from our founder, Gojin Dinka, the story was sitting on the wrong base. And we have to admit that. That is why the Ambazonian leaders must stop fighting each other and apologize to the people. Not because they were wicked, but because they were wrong. all the legal minds in La République du Cameroun, the government of La République du Cameroun, should hear me clearly. Article 102 of the UN Charter was designed for implementation, not interpretation. And the statute of limitation was October 1st, 1961. That means we can never today ratify a union based on a plebiscite that happened in 1961. That window closed on October 1st, 1961. For those who say, oh, Cardinal Toomey did a survey for the people to decide their fate, that is completely something new and it has nothing to do with our case today. Why? Because we still have in our mind the story of the plebiscite. And so we want to do another one today. That window is closed. If there's anything, the UN has to make sure that the incomplete decolonization process of Southern Cameroons is followed to the end. And we must now demonstrate leadership and the ability to lead ourselves for the UN to recognize us, beginning with true speech, clarity, understanding, and depth of this problem. Does that make sense? We've looked at the civil law system and all of that. And I just want to let you know, my people, this case that we are dealing with is larger than La République du Cameroun. It's larger than Southern Cameroons. It's larger than Africa. This is a global case. The topic of France is unavoidable in our community. You will rarely hear an activist in our community speak without blaming France. I just want to say this, our people. I got France under control. And let me give you a snippet. Now, this is what La République du Cameroun does. They do their illegal things and then they use France as a shield. And then they will take pictures with leaders from France and put that before you. France has their interest, no doubt. They have some political influence over La République du Cameroun. That is true. But does France validate the extension of another country into a UN trust territory without a union treaty? That is absolutely no. Because we don't know our case, we can't frame our case well, we can word it properly. So the easiest thing is to be emotional and then we blame. Now, why? France has interest in Cameroon, but France did not order, approve, or authorize La République du Cameroun to enter Southern Cameroons without a treaty. You separate things like this and make sure you have clarity and precision on your case. Why? Because France is one of the founders of the modern international system that was created specifically to stop illegal annexation, forced union, unilateral border changes, Hitler-style expansion. France fought for this. France stood up against Hitler because of this. France helped build the League of Nations and the United Nations to prevent the very thing La République did to us. If they have an interest, they come in, or political interest or economic interest, whoever claims they are in charge, they will engage with you. But you can't say France endorsed La République to do this, because we've looked at some of the contracts France has with La République du Cameroun, both political and economic, and none of it has to do with encouraging La République to extend their administration into a UN trust territory without a union treaty. We remain factual and clear and don't mix up things like trying to mix oil and water. So blaming France for an action La République took on its own is historically wrong, based on the history of France and what they have gone through, legally incorrect, and strategically unhelpful. France knows the cost of Hitler. France would not intentionally break the system built to stop another Hitler. That is what La République du Cameroun looked like. That is what this Paul Biya's regime looked like. France lost millions of lives. France was occupied. France was humiliated and rebuilt from the ashes. France understands. Borders must be respected. France understands this. Sovereignty is protected by treaty. France understands this. Have you heard any leader from the Southern Cameroons put things like this? No. They might mention no union treaty and then go on a temper tantrum, and that doesn't help. France will never do things like this. France understands that a trust territory cannot be annexed without UN approval. The legal experts in France, including the nation of France, understands this. So if France openly supports La République du Cameroun's illegal expansion into a trust territory, France would be undermining the very system that protects France today. And that makes no sense. These corrupt leaders that you have, again, our proverb says, if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. I told you, even with Southern Cameroon, 70% of the problem is with us, 20% is with La République du Cameroun, and just 10% is with the UN. All of a sudden, we have become angels. Our people are so cool. We can only find freedom in the same countries we claim are oppressing us. Doesn't make sense. So these leaders come up with their schemes. They are corrupt, incompetent. And then when they act, they stand close to leaders in foreign nations. Take pictures with them. So that when you see that, you believe that that nation approves everything that they are doing. Are you understanding? So we put La République where they are supposed to be, France where France is supposed to be. We see your transactions with La République, but we know who France is and who La République du Cameroun is. And then we deal with these issues separately, because by the time we are done, France has businesses in China. France has business in America and Britain and many other parts of the world. So we will have French companies in Southern Cameroons. And if they are doing right by us, we will go on and continue doing business, but our contracts will be transparent for our people to see. It will be different, but they will benefit more even in the long run, because when you do honest business, you prosper. You prosper and have peace of mind. La République du Cameroun, just being honest about your history, you will prosper than running out of your own country after winning an election. And natural resource is not everything that builds a nation. So, when they tell you that they were part of German Cameroon, the 60 million people who died in World War I for this country to be partitioned, the 17, I want you to think about this when you speak. Ignorance is the greatest enemy to our progress. The 70 million people who died in World War II, the League of Nations, the United Nations, NATO, the entire architecture of peace created after Hitler. You come back and bring this together, teach your people to go around saying things like that. Be very careful. I mean, honestly, just be careful. Let me advise citizens of La République du Cameroun on this issue. Calling Southern Cameroons part of German Cameroon is legally false, historically arrogant, and morally disrespectful to the global sacrifice that ended colonial empires and borders forever. That is the legal implication of that statement. The real problem is La République's leadership. Incompetence, not France. Beginning with Amadou Ahidjo. They took shortcuts. They ignored Resolution 1608. They never signed the Union Treaty. They extended their administration illegally. They used France as a shield to avoid responsibility. Let me repeat that slowly. La République du Cameroun uses France as a shield to avoid responsibility. But this is not France's action. We see how France behaves in Europe. And those archaic leaders in Africa have been playing this game with you for more than 65 years. And they put France before you. And you don't understand what they are doing in the back because they are incompetent. So they can oppress their own people. France just want to do business. These are former colonies. They have political interests. That is true. But to break into another territory without a union treaty, there is no one from France that will stand in court to defend La République du Cameroun on this. La République du Cameroun is different from France. France built the system that protects small nations from illegal annexation. France was part of that. La République violated that system. France did not authorize it. I told you, if France was really involved, they would have encouraged Amadou Ahidjo. Sign a union treaty. If France wanted to go along with that game, and in 1972 they would dissolve the so-called federation, France would have encouraged. If France was really part of the process, they would have encouraged Amadou Ahidjo to sign a union treaty. France is smarter than that, to go dissolve a federation that never existed. That is why most of our own legal experts, they end in Cameroon. They cannot go into international courts and defend cases. It ends there. The political legal minds, it ends. That politics you play just within the confines of Cameroon. Start thinking of becoming a global lawyer, that you don't just end in Cameroon by being true. A global political legal mind that can impact nations. Let's stop playing small. We've been doing this for 553 years. Black people. We believe so much in dishonesty and blame and noise. France did not authorize it. We've checked that. France never authorized. There is no document where France authorized La République du Cameroun to get into a UN trust territory without a union treaty. We've not seen that. Even all the political contracts France has with La République du Cameroun, none says that. So France cannot legalize it as well. Some people told me La République du Cameroun can bribe foreign nations and they can manufacture a union treaty and have it at the UN. Can never happen. This entire world collapses if that happens. So Southern Cameroonians must stop, and I say this, stop blaming France for the sins of Yaoundé. When you don't understand with this depth of clarity, the only thing you can do is blame, shout, and scream with the hope that somebody hears you. But the world is asking you, what should I help you with? We say it's Ambazonia. They say we don't understand that. We are Ambazonia, Southern Cameroon. We don't understand that. So when you go out there and people start speaking, you understand the framework they are using. you should know they don't know what they are talking about. This is the legal framework that I've given us that can help you have a constructive conversation about this subject anywhere in the world and make sense of your story. When you go out there and you hear a leader say, we are Ambazonians, you just assume they don't know the story. They don't understand what they are talking about. You don't try to teach them, change them because they have a platform and a loud microphone. No, you say they don't know. Just like if you see someone that said 1 + 1 is equal to 3, you don't try to justify, tell them to come together. They don't know. So if somebody says Ambazonia from today, moving forward, you know they don't understand the story of the Southern Cameroons. They are assuming that the Union Treaty existed and that Union Treaty was violated in 1984, which is inaccurate historically. So the world can never hear us, no matter how loud you scream. So if they use the word Ambazonia, you categorize them under ignorance, don't know what you're talking about. If they use the word Southern Cameroons Ambazonia or Ambazonia Southern Cameroons, that is also confusion. They don't know what they are talking about. You put them in the right category. Confuse, error, error, error. Maybe that's what you should be typing when they say things like that. Error. So dialogue with La Republique, error. So anything they say that is inaccurate with our story, error, should be detected instantly. Because that is what happens when they put it in the UN archives. Ambazonia, nothing comes up. Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, nothing comes up. Ambazonia, Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, nothing pops up in the system. So the world cannot even hear you. So we can scream for 100 years. That's why the journey towards freedom has to take hundreds of years, because we lacked the understanding of our problem, right? Dialogue with Paul Biya, error, wrong jurisdiction. Let the people vote. Vote on what? We are talking about incomplete decolonization. This is a legal case. So we run that in the system, error detected instantly. German Cameroon was one country. A colony is not a country. And millions of people died to make sure that they break the yoke of Hitler, not only in Europe, but also across the globe. So you just run that in the system, error, ignorant. This person don't know what they're talking about. You just filter them on the side. You go find the right information. Unity first, still wrong. Clarity. Let's pick up guns again. My brother, let's pick up a book. This is not a unity project. This is a legal case. And legal cases are not solved with emotions. I'll leave you with this story. When I was young, I went to a private nursery and primary school, from nursery 1 right up to primary 5 in the same school. The school was great, amazing teachers. But something happened while I was in primary 5. A man left the United States of America, came back and started a school. While I was in primary 5, that school had list A 100%. And that changed everything in the community. My father wanted me to have list A. So my father took me out of this school I've been in from nursery 1 to primary 5 into this new school. So some of you who have been part of Ambazonia, part of confusion, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you have challenges because this is what you've known for 9 to 10 years. But when you see the truth and you want your children to be free, you pivot. My father made that change, enrolled me into this new school. This is what that new school did that was different from my old school. They had good teachers. Number 1. Number 2, they had strategy. The teacher will identify top students in class during evening classes, and I was among those top students in class. During evening classes, those top students will be teaching the students that are not doing so well in class. So with that, when they are done with the evening classes, with those who at least get some of the concepts, now everybody is up to par. So with that, we all could all have list A. We went, wrote the common entrance, and we all made it. Why? Because of strategy. So if you understand what the teacher is teaching to an extent, like we did, you now became a teacher, teaching other students in your class that are struggling. And so with that, no one is left behind. And I say that to say that strategy was so effective that made that school stand out from other schools. So when we saw the new school, we didn't say, oh, this is where I've been. My father said, no, shift immediately so that you can have list A. And not only did I have list A, I end up understanding the strategy used in that school and why they were better than most other schools. So what you are getting here about the history of this place, including citizens of La République du Cameroon, future politicians in La République du Cameroon should learn from these lessons. This is the classroom you will never ever have in any university on political science or law in La République du Cameroon. And those in the Southern Cameroons, this clarification, this depth of clarity, you never hear this in the history of Southern Cameroons. This legal framework and what you've heard today, and how we will go on to bring about this change so easy that we should be thinking more about the nation we will build than thinking about this fight. When your entire idea is about fighting, so you don't think about building, your victory ends up becoming a fight, and maybe sometimes you never really win the fight. But when your mindset is on building, the fight becomes trivial. And that is my thinking on this issue. That is how I see life. That's always been like that for me. I am looking at what I am building, not about who I am fighting. Now, when somebody tries to attack me when I'm building, the fight is different. The energy is different because I'm in God's purpose. So even spiritually, he fights for me even before you meet me for real. Different environment.